In this video, I'm going to focus on gerunds. Gerunds are words, verb-like words that end in ing that act as a noun. And so here you say a gerund is the ing form of a verb used as a noun. A gerund is used in the same way as a noun. In other words, a noun is used as a subject or as an object in a sentence. So playing tennis is fun. And so playing is the subject of this sentence. Is the verb, fun is the adjective. And so playing is the ing-like word that is a gerund because it's an ing-like word that is used as a subject. So in this sentence, playing tennis is fun, and so playing tennis is used as a subject. We enjoy playing tennis. And so here, playing tennis is a gerund used as an object. And here, he's excited about playing tennis. And so here is a gerund used as an object of a preposition. And so gerunds are always take a singular verb. So anytime you have a gerund subject in a sentence, you always get a singular verb. And so playing is a gerund. It is used as the subject of the sentence. Playing tennis is a gerund phrase. So in playing is a gerund used as, and here you have gerund used. So here you have a gerund used as a subject, object, and object of a preposition. And these are all the ways in which nouns are used. And so that's how gerunds are used in a sentence. Using gerunds as the objects of prepositions. We talked about going to Canada for our vacation. Sue is in charge of organizing the meeting. I'm interested in learning more about your work. So a gerund is frequently used as the object of a preposition. I'm used to sleeping with the window open. I'm accustomed to sleeping with the window open. I look forward to going home next month. They object to changing their plans at this late date. We talked about not going to the meeting, but finally decided we should go. And so all of these are examples of gerunds as objects of prepositions. So a gerund is the verb-like ing word used as a noun. And so going, organizing, learning, sleeping, going, changing. Those are all ing words used as objects of prepositions as a gerund. So here you would fill in, Alice isn't interested in looking for a new job. And so looking for a new job is the object, is a gerund, object of a preposition in. Henry is excited about leaving for India. And so leaving for India is a gerund phrase which is the object of the preposition Henry is excited about. You are capable of doing better work. I have no excuse being late. I'm accustomed to having a big breakfast. The rain prevented us from completing the work. Fred is always complaining about having a headache. Instead of studying, Margaret went to a ball game with some of her friends. Thank you for helping me carry my suitcases. Mrs. Grant insisted on knowing the whole truth. I believe in being honest at all times. You should take advantage of living here. Fatima has a good reason for not going to class. Everyone in the neighborhood participated in searching for the lost child. I apologize to Yuko for making her wait for me. The weather is terrible tonight. I don't blame you for wanting not to go to the meeting. Who is responsible for washing and drying the dishes after dinner? In addition to going to school full-time, Spiro has a part-time job. I stopped the child from running into the street. Where should we go for dinner tonight? Would you object to going to an Italian restaurant? The mayor made another public statement for the purpose of clarifying the next tax proposal. The thief was accused of stealing a woman's purse. The jury found Mr. Adams guilty of taking the money from the company he worked for and keeping it for himself. Larry isn't used to wearing a suit and tie every day. I'm going to visit my family during the school vacation. I'm looking forward to eating my mother's cooking and sleeping in my own bed. So here are some common preposition combinations followed by gerunds. Be excited about doing. Be worried about doing. Complain about having to do it. Dream about doing it. Talk about of doing it. Think of doing it. Apologize for. Blame for, forgive for doing it. Hate or have an excuse for doing. Have a reason for doing it. Be responsible for doing it. Thank someone for doing it. Keep someone from doing it. Prevent someone from doing it. Prohibit someone from doing it. Believe in doing it. Be interested in doing it. Succeed in doing it. Be accused of doing it. Be guilty of doing it. Take care of doing it. Be accustomed to doing it. Be devoted to doing it. And be used to doing it. So here you have more gerunds as objects of prepositions. I thank my friend for lending me money. I'm excited about going to Florida. I'm not accustomed to living by myself. Omar didn't feel good. He complained about having a headache. I don't blame you for not wanting to go out today. I have a good reason for being late. It's getting late. I'm worried about missing the plane. I'm interested in finding out about different cultures. I'm thinking about going out. I apologize to my friend for being late. I am not used to driving late at night. Nothing can stop me from going to the baseball game. In the office, who is responsible for taking care of the new workers? I look forward to going out. The thief was guilty of stealing money. Sonia has 2 jobs, in addition to going to school and working. Please forgive me for not writing sooner. She's not capable of telling the truth. Ill health keeps my grandfather from traveling. So those are all examples of gerunds used as objects of prepositions. Common verbs followed by gerunds. I enjoy playing tennis. So gerunds are used as objects of certain verbs. For the verb enjoy is followed by a gerund playing. Enjoy is not followed by an infinitive. Incorrect. I enjoy to play tennis. So you can't say I enjoy to play tennis. You always have to say I enjoy playing tennis. And so here are verbs that always take a gerund. You cannot say I appreciate to do work. So you have to say I appreciate doing work. I don't mind doing work. I quit giving up. I finished going to school. I avoid doing math. For me, math is really hard. I postpone doing math. I delay doing math. I keep on reading fun books. I consider going on a hike. I consider discussing the problem with my friends. I mention having a problem with math. I suggest you getting a tutor for your math. So all of these verbs all take gerunds. I enjoy watching TV. I don't mind opening the window. I quit eating desserts. I give up eating desserts. I finish eating dinner. I got through eating dinner. It stopped raining. Dan avoided answering my questions. John postponed doing my work. I put off doing work. I delayed leaving on vacation. She keeps working. She keeps on working. I considered getting a job. I'm thinking about getting a job. I discussed going to a movie with John. I talked about going to a movie with Joan. I mentioned going to a concert with Kathy. I suggest going on a picnic with Barbara. I enjoy listening to music. So all of these verbs always take a gerund. And then go plus a gerund. Go is followed by a gerund in certain idiomatic expressions to express, for the most part, recreational activities. Did you go shopping? We went fishing. So here you have go plus a recreational activity, such as a hobby. Go bird watching, go boating, go bowling, go camping. I went I went camping last week. Go canoeing. Go dancing. Go fishing. Go hiking, hunting, jogging, mountain climbing, running, sailing, shopping, sightseeing. Go skating. Go skateboarding. Go skiing. If I go skateboarding at my age, I will break many bones. Go skinny dipping. I don't dare go skinny dipping. Go sledding. It is way too hot to go sledding. Go snorkeling. I've always wanted to go snorkeling. Go swimming. If I go swimming, my skin dries up. Go tobogganing. I love going tobogganing. Go window shopping. I always go window shopping. So go plus a gerund. So go plus a gerund equals go plus doing an activity. We had fun. So special expressions also take ing. We had fun. We had a good time. So we had fun playing volleyball. We had a good time playing volleyball. I had trouble. I had difficulty. I had a hard time. I had a difficult time finding his house. Sam spends most of his time studying. I waste a lot of my time watching TV. She sat at her desk writing a letter. I stood there wondering what to do next. He is lying in bed reading a novel. When I walked into my office, I found George using my telephone. When I walked into my office, I caught a thief looking through my desk drawers. So ing can be followed by certain special expressions like have fun, have a good time doing something, have trouble doing something, have a hard time doing something. Spend $50 buying furniture. Waste $50 spending furniture. So spend plus expression of time or money plus ing. Waste plus expression of time or money plus ing. Sit. I sit at the store waiting for my boyfriend to show up. I stand plus expression of place. So I stand at the restaurant waiting for my boyfriend. I lie on the grass waiting for my boyfriend. So here you have expression of place, okay, plus ing. Find blank. So find plus a pronoun, ing. I find a thief going through my drawers. I caught Tom going through my drawers. So in all of this, it means that you find and catch mean discover. And then you express your anger or displeasure, and you use these expressions to express your displeasure of discovering someone going through your drawers. So here you have special expressions followed by ing. And these expressions are pretty colloquial and conversational. We had a lot of fun playing games at the picnic. I have trouble listening or understanding Mrs. Maxwell when she speaks. I spent 5 hours doing my homework last night. Olga is standing at the corner waiting for the bus. Ricardo is sitting in class taking notes. Donna was lying under a tree listening to birds sing. We wasted our money going to that movie. Omar spent all day preparing to get ready to leave on vacation. He has a hard time making up his mind about anything. I wondered what the children were doing while I was gone. When I got home, I found them watching TV. When Mr. Chan walked into the kitchen, he caught the children eating some candy, even though he told them not to eat candy to spoil their dinners. Mrs. Gray is a commuter. Every workday she spends almost 2 hours coming to and going to and coming from work. And so here you have other special expressions, same thing. Okay, common verbs followed by infinitives. So that means that these verbs can take either an infinitive, well, some verbs take infinitives and some verbs take gerunds. What's an infinitive? An infinitive is to plus the single form of a verb. To see, to be, to go, those are all infinitives. I hope to see you again. He promised to be here by 10. He promised not to be late. And so when you have hope, promised, and these are all followed by infinitives. And so here some verbs will be followed immediately by an infinitive. And so Mrs. Lee told me to be here at 10 o'clock. The police ordered the driver to stop. Some verbs are followed by a pronoun and then infinitives. These verbs are followed immediately by an infinitive when they are used in the passive. I was told to be here at 10 o'clock. The driver was ordered to stop. And so here you have a passive voice where you have a be verb plus a past participle. Be verb plus a past participle. So every time you have a be verb plus a past participle, you have passive voice. And so when you have told and ordered in the passive voice, then you use an infinitive. I expect to pass the test. I expect Mary to pass the test. And so verbs like ask, expect, would like, most, want, and need may or may not be followed by a pronoun object. I think I will pass the test. I think Mary will pass the test. I expect to pass the test. I expect Mary to pass the test. Here are a group of verbs that take infinitives. Hope to, plan to, intend to. So I hope to graduate in 2025. I plan to graduate in 2025. I intend to graduate in 2025. I decide to graduate in 2025. I promise to get married by 25. I agreed to this contract. I offered to do his homework, although that's plagiarism. I refused to take his hand in marriage. He seems to be bored. He appeared to be bored. I pretend to be bored. I expect to do a lot of work in this class. I would like to take a walk outside. I want to take a walk outside. I need to take a walk outside. So all of these verbs, hope, plan, intend, decide, promise, appear, pretend, ask, want, and need, all take an infinitive. And then here you have other verbs, but they take a pronoun and an infinitive. Tell someone to. I told my father to pick me up at the school at 3 p.m. I advise my students to work hard. I encourage my students to work hard. I remind my students to get their assignments done on time. I invited my friends to the party. I permitted my students to hand in stuff late. I allowed my students to hand in their assignments late. I warned my students that if they don't hand in their assignments, they will get a 0. I require my students to study hard. I order my students to study hard. I don't force my students to study hard, but they should. I ask my students to be courteous in class. I expect my students to be present in class. I would like my students to succeed. I want my students to succeed. I need a lawyer to divorce my husband. So for all of these verbs, tell, advise, encourage, remind, invite, permit, allow, warn, require, order, force, ask, expect, would like, want, and need, all of these verbs need a pronoun and an infinitive. We're going out to dinner. Would you like to join us? Jack avoided looking at us. Fred didn't have any money. He decided to get a job. The teacher reminded the students to complete their assignments. Do you enjoy playing soccer? I was so broke, so Jenny offered giving me a little money. Mrs. Allen promised to give me money tomorrow. My boss expects me to come to work on time. Would you mind opening the door for me? Even though I asked the people in front of me at the movie to be quiet, they kept talking. Joan and David were considering to get married in June, but they have finally decided to get married. They finally decided to wait until August to get married. Our teacher encourages us to use a dictionary whenever we are uncertain of the spelling of a word. So you get the idea. So some of the verbs take an infinitive and some of the verbs take a gerund, and you just have to know which is which. Common verbs followed by either infinitives or gerunds. Some verbs can be allowed to be followed by either an infinitive or gerund, sometimes with no difference in meaning, as in Group A. Begin. I began working at 25. I began to work at 25. So basically, no change in meaning for I began to work at 25 or I began working at 25. It began to rain. It began raining. I started to work. I started working. It was beginning to rain. There is no difference between began to rain and begin raining. If the main verb is progressive, an infinitive, not a gerund, is usually used. So Group B, so here you have plus infinitive or gerund, but with a difference in meaning. So the verbs in Group B may be followed by either an infinitive or gerund, but the meaning is different. Remember, forget, regret, try. Judy always remembers to lock the door. Remember plus infinitive, remember to perform a responsibility, duty, or task. Sam often forgets to lock the door. Forget plus infinitive means forget to perform a responsibility, duty, or task. I remember seeing the Alps for the first time. The sight was impressive. So remember plus a gerund means you're recalling something that happened in the past. I'll never forget seeing the Alps for the first time. So forget plus a gerund means forget something that happened in the past. And so here, when you have gerund, that means you're either remembering or forgetting something in the past. I remember seeing my mother the way she used to look the way she used to be when she was younger, back in the 70s. I'll never forget being in my mother's arms. So here, it's all about remembering the past. Judy always remembers to lock the door. Professor H always remembers to check on her class. In other words, remember to or remember plus an infinitive means your duty, something you have to do. Sam often forgets to lock the door. Professor H never forgets to check on her students. And so when remember and forget plus an infinitive, that means a duty they have to do. And then when remember plus a gerund, that means some kind of memory in the past. I regret to tell you that you failed the test. I regret lending him some money. He never paid me back. So regret plus an infinitive means you regret to tell someone, to inform someone of some bad news. So I regret to tell you that your mother has passed away. I regret to tell you that your son has passed away. So in H, when you regret plus an infinitive means you're telling someone bad news. I regret lending him some money. This means you regret an action that you did in the past. I regret going to that boring movie. It was such a waste of money. I'm trying to learn English. So trying to learn means you're making an effort to do something. I tried opening the window, but that didn't help. So I tried turning on the fan, but it was still hot. Finally, I turned on the air conditioning. So try plus a gerund means you're experimenting with new or different approach to see if something works. So I'm trying to learn English. So try plus an infinitive means you're making an effort. Try plus a gerund means you're experimenting with something new. So I'm trying to teach my class English grammar. But last night, John always gets bad grades. He tried studying. He tried memorizing. He tried many different things, but John always got a bad grade. And so the first try to means you make an effort. Then try plus the gerund means you try so many different things, and either something works or it doesn't work. And so some verbs take a gerund and an infinitive, and some verbs only take a gerund, some verbs only take a gerund. In other words, you just have to know which is which by listening to television, speaking with native students, native speakers of English, Or my favorite one, doing a lot of reading. The more you read, the more English you learn. I like to go to the zoo. The play wasn't very good. The audience started leaving before it was over. After a brief interruption, the professor continued lecturing. The children love to swim in the ocean. I hate to see any living thing suffer. I'm afraid of flying. When a plane begins moving down the runway, my heart starts racing. The plane is beginning to move, and my heart is starting to race. When I travel, I prefer driving to taking a plane. I prefer driving rather than taking a plane. Or you can say, I prefer to drive rather than to take a plane. I always remember to turn off all the lights before I leave the house. I can remember being very proud and happy when I graduated. Did you remember giving Jake my message? Or did you remember to give Jake my message? Think to give, yeah. I remembered playing with dolls when I was a child. What do you remember doing when you were a child? What do you remember to do before you leave for class every day? What did you forget to do before you left for class this morning? I'll never forget carrying my wife over the threshold when we moved into our new house. I can never forget watching our team score the winning goal in the last seconds of the championship game. So that's the difference between a gerund and an infinitive. And these exercises, and here are all the verbs that are followed always by a gerund. Here are all the verbs always followed by an infinitive. So I suggest that you just keep these a card, or you just print out this page so that you could have it by you, so that when you're not sure whether to use an infinitive or whether to use a gerund, you could use this page as a reference list, because some verbs take a gerund and some verbs take an infinitive. And then you can do all of these exercises. And so infinitive. So it plus infinitive, gerunds and infinitives as subjects. It is difficult to learn a second language. Often an infinitive phrase is used with it as the subject of a sentence. The word it refers to and has the same meaning as the infinitive phrase at the end of the sentence. So it is difficult to learn a second language. Learning a second language is difficult. See how you can switch it around? So it is difficult to learn a second language. So here you have the infinitive as the object of a preposition. So here you have the infinitive as the object, and here you have the gerund, learning a second language. This is a gerund subject. And so gerund subject, remember subjects always come before the verb. So learning a second language, so this gerund phrase is the subject of the sentence. So you have subject, verb, is, and difficult, adjective. Here you have an infinitive phrase as the subject of the sentence. To learn a second language is difficult. Subject, verb, adjective. Both of these are simple sentences. A gerund phrase is frequently used as a subject of a sentence. An infinitive can also be used as the subject of a sentence, but far more commonly as an infinitive phrase. It is easy for young children to learn a second language. Learning a second language is easy for young children. To learn a second language is easy for young children. All of these have exactly the same meaning, no difference in meaning. So it is dangerous to ride a motorcycle without wearing a helmet. Or you would say, riding a motorcycle without wearing a helmet is dangerous. It is important to study. To study is important. So you can switch it, you can always switch this around, just like you switch it around here. It is difficult to learn a second language. Learning a second language is difficult. And so you can switch the infinitive around. You can switch it around and have the gerund and the infinitive as either the subject of the sentence or as the object of the sentence, because gerunds and infinitives are used as nouns. And so here you have a list of words to work into the story. Okay, so this is all right, so that's it for gerunds and infinitives. So in the next paragraph, I'm going to talk mainly about infinitives. So that's going to be chapter 15, part 2. So the first chapter 14 focused mainly on gerunds. And then the second chapter is going to focus on infinitives. Infinitives means to plus a verb. Okay, the root form of the verb. So I'm going to do that in my next video, in which I'm going to talk about gerunds and infinitives and not just mainly gerunds. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.